Good morning, everyone. In just about 1 minute, we are going to begin our latest episode of our ACT training webinar series. Today, we're going to talk about sales pipeline and some best practices for that. So we'll wait about another minute or two to make sure everybody's here with us. Just hang tight with me for a little bit longer. Thank you. All right, here we are at the top of the hour. Let's begin. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. We're going to start right now and talk about this month's ACT training webinar. And we're going to talk about the sales pipeline, how to manage it. And I've got some tips and tricks for best practices, maybe even an idea or two that you haven't thought of before. Our tagline this month is to elevate your sales game with ACT. A little word about myself, first of all. My name is Brent Milner. I've been working with ACT for over 18 years now. My job here is to create training videos, to put on these webinars each month. I teach our new hires, I teach our partners, and I teach customers how to use ACT. I live in northern Arizona, where we are just in the beginning stages of the monsoon season, so got some good hail yesterday. It was nice for the forest to get some wet weather. Today in our agenda, I'm going to take you through a live demonstration looking at opportunities, or more specifically, your sales pipeline and how to manage it. We'll look at the processes that you can create using opportunities. I'll show you some of the ones that are provided to you out of the box, and maybe we'll even create our own custom sales process just to show you how you can do that. We'll talk about products and services. This is what adds the currency, the dollars or the pounds or whatever currency you use to your opportunities, which then, of course, drives the sales pipeline and reports and things like that to show you revenues. I'm going to show you also, as we look at the management of opportunity records, show you how to set a status for an opportunity, how to give it a value, and working with dates and stages and more. And then we're going to look at some of the higher level views of the sales pipeline. We'll look at some key performance indicators. Those are kind of like little mini reports that you can create and look at to show you kind of a high level view of the health of your sales pipeline. And then right at the end, we're going to go into ACT Insight, which is our interactive dashboard. And I want to show you some of the out of the box charts that you can use to look at your business's health from a sales standpoint. But also, we may create a custom chart to show some additional information that might be useful for you. What I really want to do is give you a quick education on the opportunities area, the sales pipeline area inside ACT. Maybe you're not using it. Maybe it's intimidating. Maybe you've dabbled with it a little bit, but you want to know more. But I also want to maybe give you some new ideas on things you could be using that you didn't know you had at your fingertips. So let's start. And oh man, I didn't even do any of our housekeeping stuff this month. Yes, if you're new to this series and you have questions as we go, please use the Q&A panel inside Zoom. And just enter your questions there and submit them. While I'm going through this demonstration, Dan Horn is going to be answering your question. He's our brilliant man over in the UK. He's going to be answering all of your questions and helping you out with that. So give some love to Dan when he answers your question. Also, we're recording this, of course. This is going to be a webinar that you can view later on if you have some employees, some cohorts who couldn't attend to this webinar. You can share a link to this with them. And The best way to get there is to go to your browser and just go to act.com/explore, and that'll forward you to this page, the training webinar series page. And on this page, you can scroll down and you can see a history of all the webinars that we've done up to this point. You can even sign up to be notified of when our next webinar is going to be so that you can join us live and ask questions. It's really the last Wednesday of every month. So if you have that available to you, sign up and you can join us here again. Finally, once this webinar is over, you're going to receive a survey, and we really do appreciate it when you fill out the surveys. It doesn't take too long, but we just like the feedback that you give us. Anything that we can do better, we'd like to know about it. And if you have any ideas for future webinars, just include that in the survey. We really do take your ideas, and we create new webinars all the time based upon the ideas that you send us. So with all that said, let me go back into my little PowerPoint here. And the first thing we're going to talk about today is sales processes and stages. So when you're working with opportunities in ACT, those are basically ruled by what we call the sales process. And a sales process is just a way for you to organize your opportunities by stage. So when you have an opportunity for new business, usually that takes place in stages. You know, it's not just a one phone call, we're done and everything's settled. There's a process that it goes through. And the one I usually use is part of the out-of-the-box offering from within ACT, and it's called ACT Sales Cycle. And I have some screenshots here of it, but I'm going to go in there and we're going to take a closer look at it. But you'll see that if you create a new process, you can assign any number of stages to that process to kind of walk yourself through an opportunity from its beginning all the way to its end. So let's jump into one of my databases here. And I'm going to be using primarily the desktop version of ACT, although I do have my cloud version here that I can show you too, just in case you're on cloud. I want to make sure I'm showing everything to everybody, depending on which environment you're using. In the desktop version of ACT, to access your sales opportunity process, what you'll need to do is go into your opportunities area, and then you'll see a new menu up here at the top called Opportunities. From here, in the Opportunities menu, you will see a drop-down where you can manage your process list. So when I click that, it's going to open up this Manage Process List window. In the cloud version, again, it's also in the Opportunities area. There's a little bit of difference in the cloud version because what we're doing now is we're basically changing the schema of the database. And that's just a fancy word for the structure of it. So whenever we're going to create new fields in ACT or new processes in the opportunity area, what we're doing is we're modifying the skeleton, the structure of the database. And so what has to happen is we have to lock it. And that just means we have to basically log everybody else out of it so that we can make these structural changes. And then once we're done, we'll unlock it and people can then log in and add data to that. If we try to make structure changes while the database is unlocked and people are logged in and entering records, we're going to cause data collision and corruption. And that's a horrible thing to try to fix. So if you're in the cloud version, what you'll do is you'll go to your tools menu and you'll choose Define Fields. Now, what this will do is, in most cases, it will enact a little 3-minute countdown timer to lock your database. Now, I've already previously locked my database, and you can see in the lower right corner, very faintly, it says database is locked. Once the database is locked, then you can go to this Define Fields screen, and you'll see what I'm showing you here. From here, you'll go to Manage Process List. And now this is kind of the same screen that we've seen in the desktop version of ACT. So I'm going to jump back over there, and no worries if you're on the cloud version, the process from this point on is identical. So I'm looking at a list of all my processes in ACT for my sales pipeline. And you'll notice out of the box, there are a few that are there by default. ACT Sales Cycle is one of them. I think New Technology Process is one of them. Maybe Promotional Sales Cycle is one of them. I've created a few custom ones. One is called machinery, and this would be in the instance where I have a customer who I need to install some machinery at their location. This for me would require a different sales process. And if I just edit this process real quick, you can see the stages that I have assigned to this process. So let me go to the next screen where the stages appear. The stages represent kind of the steps from the beginning of an opportunity all the way to the end when we win it. So for machinery, my stages might include some things like my initial contact to the customer, and then we have a consulting conversation later on if they're still interested. And if that goes well, I might go on site to their location to kind of just see what their layout looks like, what their blueprint of their warehouse looks like. After getting all the information I need from that, I'll generate plans on how the installation of this machinery might go, everything that I need to know. From then, we'll negotiate a final price and date of delivery. And then the last stage would be finalizing the contract where they pay me and I go actually install. I could even have another stage here for installation if I wanted to. But this is all customizable. When you create a process, you can have an infinite number of stages and you can name them whatever you want. Now, you'll notice on the right, there is a column for probability. What we do here is kind of say at this point at this stage in the opportunity, what's our probability of winning? And so this might be, for example, by the time I'm doing an on-site visit, I think I'm going to win about a third of the time. So I have a 35% probability of success at that point. But maybe later on, I'm a good negotiator. Maybe by the time we get to negotiation, I'm only going to lose 1 out of 4. So I have a 75% chance of success. These are just arbitrary numbers that I put in there. You can put whatever you want in your probability area. And this is really there to help compute a weighted total value for your opportunities. And we'll look at that in just a second, but just kind of put a thumbtack in that for now, that the probability is related to your weighted total value later on. So let's say I wanted to create a new stage, and I have somebody suggested to me, can you use opportunities to manage like project management? And the answer is yes. If you've never even thought of that, this was a great idea that I was given last week or the week before that. I'm going to create a new opportunity process. And this one I'm just going to call project management. Now, if any of you have ever done project management, you know that there are stages involved in that. When you have a new project that starts all the way through the completion of the project, there might not be a dollar value or any kind of currency value assigned to it, but that doesn't mean we can't use it as a way to help manage our products. So you'd go through the same process to create this type of sales process as you would anything else. I'm going to name it project management. I'm going to make sure it's active. And that just means that the users at my company can assign opportunities to this process. And I'll click next. And so now we have the ability to add stages. And whether you're in cloud or you're in the desktop, it's really the same process. You pick a stage and you rename it. So in a project management process, there's typically 5 to 7 stages. So I'm just going to put in some real basic ones. So my first stage might be initiation. My second stage might be planning. Click add. My third stage, execution. Fourth stage would maybe be monitoring or controlling. And then maybe my last stage is going to be closure, right? Again, you can name these whatever you want, but I'm just speaking from a project management standpoint. I could assign probabilities to these if I want to. I'm just going to not do it for now. But, well, maybe I will. We'll just assign 10% here. Planning is going to be 30%, 50%, 70%, and then, of course, 90% or whatever, just so that I have a number there. And that's really it. The last thing I need to do then is just click finish. And there we go. Now I have a project management process available for me inside ACT. At this point, I can close this window If you're in the cloud version of Act, when you add a new process and then you close this window, it'll take you back to the defined fields screen. And once you close that defined fields screen, it will unlock your database again so that your coworkers can now log in and start making changes to the database. So when you're doing changes like this, creating a new process, anytime you're working with fields in the database, I suggest just picking a time of the day when there's not going to be a lot of people trying to get into Act, because like I said, you're going to log them out. So if it takes you 45 minutes to create a process because you're thinking about it a lot, maybe do it at a time when nobody else needs to use it. Okay, so now I have a new process. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means now the next time I create an opportunity, let's just create a new opportunity record here. It's going to give me the screen that I expect to see. Here's my new opportunity window. You'll see that the new process now appears down here in this process and stage area. So what I would do then is in the process dropdown, I'm going to choose my new project management process. And now we'll see that the stages down below are the stages that I assigned to this process from initiation all the way down to closure. So I could have a project management section inside my opportunities area for any of the projects that I have going on at my company. So that's another way that you can use opportunities that maybe you haven't used it before. Now, I'm not going to spend any more time talking about project management. I want to go back to talking about proper opportunities based on a sales cycle, because that's what we're supposed to be doing here today. But I just wanted to throw that little extra information out there in case you want to use it for other purposes. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is products and services. So as you're using your sales process, as you're working with opportunities in Act, you're going to want to list the actual things you sell. These could be tangible items. They could be billable hours. They could be services. It could be a contract. It could be a lot of different things. Anything that you place a value on is something that you can include in your products and services table inside Act. And yeah, products is a table inside your Act database. So we have tables for contacts, groups, companies, opportunities, and products. Those are the 5 main tables inside Act. So let's have a look at that and see where these products live. I'm going to go back to my list view for my opportunities area just to show you how you would find your products. Now, if you're in the desktop version of Act and you go to your opportunities menu, you'll see it listed here. It says Manage Product List inside the opportunities menu. There's also one of the little buttons at the top that can link you to your product list. So either way you go, you can get there from clicking either one of these. Once I click it, it's going to launch my product list window. In the cloud version, which I'm looking at now, you'll be able to find it easily as well inside the opportunities menu. It's right at the bottom. It says Manage Product List. So same thing is listed here and in the desktop version. So this shows all the products that are currently in your database. These are the ones that are available for you to add to an opportunity and thus give it value. And there's really 4 main fields inside the products table. Well, there's really more than 4, but there's 4 that we're concerned with here. The name of the product, an item number. So if you have a catalog number for your products, you can put that there. It's not required. It's just useful if you bill things by item number. And then cost and price. So cost is what it costs you to produce or provide this product or service. And then price is what you're charging your customers for that item. Once you have those 4 things in there, you can create a product list. To add new products to your current lists, just click the Add button on the right, and it'll give you a new spot at the bottom where you can start entering the name of your product. So, for example, I might have napkins as a really basic product. I'll give it a number and a price. So I don't know how much this would cost. I'm just going to put 15 cents, and I'm going to sell them for 30 cents. I don't know. It's just one example. And so now I have a new product, which is available inside Act whenever I create new opportunities. The same thing is available inside the desktop version of Act, where you just click Add to add any new products. Now, in the desktop version of Act, one thing that you can do is you can import a spreadsheet of products if you have that available. Just use this import button and follow the same kind of header that you would see in this list when you're importing a spreadsheet. So once you have your products available to you, you can now add them to any of your new opportunities. So I created a new opportunity. I haven't named it or anything. I've just created a new record. It doesn't have any information in it yet. And you can see in the detail view for this opportunity, there's no value to it. There's no total value. There's no weighted value. There's no value at all. And that's because I have to add a product to this opportunity in order to give it a value. And that's what this products and services tab is down below. It's meant to add products to that opportunity. Once you click the add button, it opens up this add edit product window. And if you expand the name dropdown, it will show you all the products that are in your database. Okay. The same thing applies inside the cloud version of Act. If I create a new opportunity here, and once this loads, I'll go to my products and services tab. And if I add a new product, here we'll see this add edit product window. It's the same in cloud as it is in desktop. Down towards the bottom, I should see alphabetized. The new product I created, napkins, is there. So there you go. Once you add products, well, let me add a few products to this opportunity just so we can see the value that it gets. So I'm going to add one of my products, and I'll give it a quantity of 200. So what that does is it takes the quantity and multiplies it by the price to give me my subtotal here. Now, some of the fields that I haven't mentioned yet are discounted fields. So when you're adding a product to an opportunity and you're talking to your customers, you could say, yeah, I want to give a discount. And you can decide, do I want to give them a percentage discount, or do I just want to give them a flat price rate discount? You have to choose one or the other. You can't do both, obviously. So if I were to choose 5%, it would automatically adjust this adjusted price from $7.50 down to $7.12. If I decide maybe that's not as much as, maybe I really wanted to offer it to them for $7 instead of $7.12, if I change the dollar amount, then it's going to automatically change the discount amount too. So those kind of work hand in hand, computing it as needed. It gives me my new subtotal value of 1,400 for this item. When I click save, it's going to take that product and add it to the opportunity. So now I have one product for this opportunity. It is Belgian glasses, 200 of them at the discounted price of $7 per, which gives me $1,400. So here's where my total value comes from. And yes, you can add multiple products to an opportunity. Maybe they want more than Belgian glasses. Maybe they want some t-shirts or something. Well, I can just, again, go through this, add another product, choose t-shirts, find out how many they want. These are in bulks of 100. So when I say one, it's one quantity of 100 bundled t-shirts. That's just how I priced it for this item. If I click save, it'll now add that t-shirt line item, product line item, to this opportunity. And it adds both subtotals together. So the glassware was 1,400, the t-shirts were 1,000. Of course, adding it together, we get 2,400 as our total value. Now, I mentioned before our weighted value. Okay, that is where we take into consideration the probability, which is 10%, because I have assigned a 10% probability on my first stage in my process. So in my initial communication stage, I've said by default, I win 10% of the time after I have that initial communication with somebody. So by default, I have it set as a probability of 10%. And when you take 10% of the total value, that gives you your weighted value. This is useful in reports where you need to kind of figure out which of my opportunities have the most weighted value for me right now. Which ones should I invest in? Like at their current stage, where is the money? And that's what this weighted value let you figure out. Because I might have one opportunity that's way early in the needs assessment stage that has a higher weighted value as a different one in the later stages. And that just tells me what I need to prioritize first. So, and that's just a philosophy, a sales philosophy that you can either use or not use. It just depends on how you want to do it. But there is that field available for you. So I have an opportunity that I've created. I've got some products that I've added to my list, and I can continue adding more products as we go, and it'll just grow to be this opportunity with however many products you want. Once they appear here on your list, you can edit them. Like maybe you came back later and said, after talking with the customer, they originally said they wanted 200, but they've thought it out and they really want it to be 350. Well, then all you have to do is edit this specific line in the products tab and change that quantity from 200 to 350. And once you do that and you click save, it will recompute this amount for you on the product screen, and it'll give you your new total. So now that new total is a lot more than it was before. And remember, think of products as just anything you sell. So I'm dealing with tangible things, but this could be a service, like labor. And then your price would be how much you charge per hour. And then your quantity would be the number of hours. So you can use it that way to bill somebody. However you're doing business, you can use, you can tweak this to meet what you need it to be. Okay, let's look at the next thing in our list here. So we've talked about products and services. The next thing we're going to look at is managing your opportunities. So I want to look at things like the status of my opportunity. We've talked about value a little bit. And then I want to work with dates here and look at some of the reporting, early high-level reporting that we can do inside the opportunities area in ACT. So looking at the details for an opportunity, I should give it a name, and it should be a descriptive name so that I know by just looking at the name what this opportunity entails. So what is this customer calling me about? In our early conversations, what is this for? Is this for an event that they're doing later on? Is this for a new promotion that's happening? Is it a new build? Is it a grand opening? What is the reason for this opportunity that I have? So I might say that they're just having a summer festival, and I'll just call it summer festival. I'll put the date in there just so that I know if they do it again next year, I can differentiate last year's summer festival with this year's summer festival, right? I'll save that. I'm in the cloud version, but these fields are identical within cloud and in desktop. So this is a summer festival. One thing I haven't specified is who is the customer. Now over in this association area, this is where we would say, here's our customer, here's our company. Who is this? How do we add them to this opportunity? The easiest way to do that at this point is to go to the contacts tab down at the bottom of the detail view for the opportunity, and then click add remove contacts. When you do this, you'll be able to search your database for whoever that person might be. I'll find somebody here. Let me just type in part of their last name. I'll enter Apple and click search. And we'll say this is for Chuck Applesauce. There he is. So I clicked his name and I've moved it to the right. And when I click save, ACT is going to do two things for me. It's going to add Chuck as my contact, but it's also going to add his linked company as a company record. This is great because if I have several opportunities with different people at this company, when I go to the company record, it will list them all in one place. So it's good to have this opportunity associated with not just contacts, but companies too. Okay, so now I know who I'm talking with, and conveniently his phone number is right here, and so is his email address, so I can reach out to him really easily. Or if I'm working in a collaborative environment, one of the other salespeople can also reach out to him because that information is right here conveniently on the opportunity record. So the next thing I want to talk about here is some of the other fields. The status field, or the status area here, tells us what the current status is of this opportunity. Now, since I just opened this, by default, it's going to be listed as open, meaning it's not resolved. It's currently ongoing. It could go one of two ways. We could win it or we could lose it. And that's why there are two other status options here, closed won and closed lost. When we get to the end of an opportunity, it's going to go either by winning it or losing it. And then in some instances, we may have to mark it as inactive. An example of this might be during the pandemic when a lot of businesses were kind of on hiatus. We might have set a lot of activities to inactive. Maybe they call you and they say, hey, plans have changed. We're putting this on the back burner for now. Can you call me back in 6 months? Okay, well, I don't want this to keep showing up in my reports. So I'm going to put it as inactive and then set a reminder to myself to call them back later to see what we can do with it. So we'll talk about closing opportunities in just a little bit. But for right now, I want to move this opportunity along. So let's say that I've had my initial communication with Chuck, and we've talked about what this event is all about. And so I called him later and said, I'll get in touch with you to talk about what you need. So what I might do at this point is in the stage dropdown, advance this to the next stage in the opportunity process, meaning needs assessment. When I click save on that, there's a couple things that are going to happen. Of course, it's going to change the stage that this opportunity exists in. Now, I have in this stage by default a 20% probability. So it updated the probability amount here, which then in turn updated my weighted total value because now I'm 20% sure I'm going to win this. So I've had a communication with Chuck, and we've talked about what his needs are. Maybe I've moved it to this stage, and we've had this phone conversation. He's already ready for me to show him some examples of maybe glassware and T-shirts or whatever it might be. So I'm going to have a meeting with him. I want to meet in person with him, and what I'm going to do is progress this to the presentation stage. So in my example, this presentation stage is when I either go on a Zoom call with my customer or I go to their location and I give a demonstration, or I present to them, here's what I envision this project looking like. Here's the things that we're going to provide you. I list out the dates, quantities, I give them samples, all that stuff that occurs during a presentation stage. But I want to create an activity, an act, so that I can schedule this with Chuck. And one of the cool things you can do inside of opportunities is when you're looking at the detailed view of an opportunity, whether you're in the cloud version or the desktop version, you can click this meeting button at the top, or call or to do or whatever activity you want. When I click this meeting button at the top, what it's going to do is it's going to open my new add activity window. And in the title of it, it's going to provide me with some of the details of this opportunity record. So it's suggesting, what should we call this? And this is a little wordy. Follow up on the opportunity name, summer festival, process name, act, sales cycle, stage name, presentation. So it's giving me a whole lot of information. I don't need to have all that in there. I can delete any of this if I want. Like maybe I know it's my sales cycle process, but I do want to keep the presentation stage name in there. So I'm just going to delete the stuff that I don't need. In fact, I'm just going to call this meeting Summer Festival 2024 presentation. Pretty simple. It slimmed it down for me, but ACT suggested that title for me. Now, my meeting durations are by default 1 hour, so it has pre-populated that with 1 hour. I can change that if I want. But now all I need to do is like schedule a date and time. So let's say tomorrow we'll have this opportunity. We'll have this meeting at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's not a recurring activity. Notice that it set me as the organizer because I'm the one creating this meeting. But in my associate with area, it has assigned it to Chuck, who is my contact, the Summer Festival opportunity record, and the King Harbor company where Chuck works. So this meeting will get associated with 3 different records in ACT. And that's just convenient because if I were to look up the activities tab on any of these 3 records, I would see that this meeting appears. Okay. If I am a sales manager and I want to assign this to somebody else, maybe I have a sales rep who works with Chuck all the time. I can assign it to one of my other employees inside my database. So this would go on their calendar and not mine, and they would be responsible for this meeting. And then down below, we can assign any of the details we want, where it's located, if I need any resources like a laptop or anything like that for this meeting, or a conference room. I can provide a description, maybe an agenda of what this meeting is going to cover. I can attach files too. If I have an early quote that I want to attach to this, or maybe a representation of the kind of things that we're going to be showing Chuck, I could add a file here. And then I can set up a priority and an alarm to this meeting if I want to. So once I click save, it's going to create this meeting for me. It's going to also create it for Chuck and for his company. And it will show up now on the activities tab for this opportunity. So here's my meeting scheduled for tomorrow at 3 p.m. So this is a great way where you can work with opportunities, but it also ties into your calendar and your task list to show you everything that is scheduled for you so that nothing gets missed. In the desktop version of ACT, you can also click this meeting button at the top to get the same information. But in the desktop, you can also right-click and choose Schedule Follow-Up Meeting. So there's a little bit of a right-clicking functionality you can do to quickly create meetings based off of opportunity records and things like that. But other than that, the process is identical. So if I go back into the cloud version of ACT and I click my task list, for example, I should see that on the 27th, I have a meeting scheduled. Here it is, my meeting scheduled for the Summer Festival 2024. Okay, I didn't click invitee because I didn't want to send an email out to Chuck. I don't have an email set up for him, so that's why there's nothing there in that screen. But you can also, anytime you're looking at task lists or any screens that have lists, you can, of course, customize your columns to show the information that you want to see there. So, for example, maybe I want to see the scheduled by field here, or I want to see the organizer field here so I know who's supposed to be managing this meeting. Once I click save, it will add that column to my layout so I know that this meeting was organized for me to attend and not any of my other coworkers. So that's a useful field to have when you're looking at your task list. Let's go back to opportunities, and I'll show you a few other things. Like, for example, the pipeline view. I'm going to look at my desktop version, and you'll see the pipeline view is here at the top next to the detail view, the list view. You'll see your pipeline view. What this does is it populates this window with a bunch of information that is useful when you're looking at your opportunities from sort of a high level point of view. And it's the same thing inside the cloud version. So I'm looking at the cloud version now. When I click pipeline view, it'll switch over to this pipeline view as well. And you should see that it's identical to what we would see in the desktop version. But let me just show that piece there. So it shows me at the top my sales pipeline chart or graph. And this is meant to show me all of my open opportunities by stage. So I'm looking at my ACT sales cycle here. I'm looking at my open opportunities. It's got all my stages listed. And what we're looking at is a count, meaning the number of opportunities in each stage. This helps me maybe as a sales manager to kind of identify any possible bottlenecks in my sales pipeline. Like, where are my opportunities getting held up? And we can see I have an overwhelming number of opportunities in the needs assessment stage where I have very few in these later stages. So as a sales manager, just by looking at this one graph, I might say, hey, maybe over the next week or two, let's focus on all the opportunities in this stage and see if we can move them along so that we can make some numbers at the end of either this month or next month. But just very quickly, I can identify where the bulk of our opportunities by count are located. I can toggle over to value, and this shows me where the dollar value is, or the currency is for each of these opportunities. And it shows me here that the overwhelming amount of value is in this presentation stage. So that tells me two different things. I must have some really valuable opportunities that are in this presentation stage, like higher dollar values. So maybe let's push these along to see if we can get those closing. But it also tells me I don't have very much in my initial communication. So maybe if I'm forward thinking, I would say, hey, I know we've got a lot of stuff currently, but what's going to happen in a couple of months from now? There's not really a lot on the horizon. So maybe I would make a decision there to say, oh, let's put some new feelers out there, see if we can get some new opportunities in our pipeline. So there's a lot you can do, a lot of decisions you can make just by looking at a graph like this. But it's important, I think, to balance it back and forth so that you don't just look at it from one perspective. Now, over on the right, there's this section called Opportunity KPIs. That stands for Key Performance Indicators. And what this is meant to do is to just give you some figures, some high-level figures based on your open opportunities. And the ones that come by default are, the number of opportunities that are open. I have 45 opportunities that are currently open. Combined, they have a weighted value of $64,000. But their total value is 184,000. So I may have some threshold numbers that I want to see here all the time. Maybe I always want to have a total value of around $200,000 in my pipeline. And this would tell me, okay, well, today we're falling a little bit short of that. So I need to go drum up some new business somehow so I can get over this threshold that I've set for myself. And that's just a quick way to look at some of these figures and come up with some ideas. Now you can create opportunity KPIs. If you go to the list view of your opportunities area, you'll see these KPIs appear at the top of the screen in kind of like a horizontal bar here. And there's a little pencil icon which you can click to open up a window that lets you customize or create new KPIs. Now, I'm not an expert at this. Some of you are a lot more math oriented than I am, and you look at these fields and immediately you're thinking, oh yeah, I know I could add a KPI that represents this number. Well, here's where you're going to do it on this custom KPI screen. And again, you get there by going to the list view of opportunities where it shows your KPIs at the top. And then there's a little pencil icon in the top right corner of that area where you can create your own KPIs. And it's the same thing in the desktop version of ACT, which I'm looking at now. When I go to the list view, you see your KPIs, and there's that pencil icon in the upper right corner. So we've tried to make both the desktop and the cloud versions very similar so that if you move from desktop to cloud, everything will be familiar and useful to you still. All right, let's move on to our next area here. Got a couple more things I want to talk about. One thing I didn't do, get rid of that. One thing I didn't do is didn't talk about closing an opportunity. So let's say that some time has gone by, and I'll pick one of my opportunities that's already open here, and I have an opportunity that needs to be closed. So we've gone through all the stages, and now in 2 days, we have an estimated close date, but we have our sales fulfillment. We're at the final stage here, and let's say that they've delivered the check to me, they've paid me, and we've delivered the goods or the services to them. So now it's time to close this opportunity. The easiest way to do that is just to switch the status from open to closed. If you're in the desktop version of ACT, you can right click, and I think there is a edit opportunity status submenu here where you could change it there. But easiest way is just to sort of tick that closed radio button and then click save. What this will do, I made it lost. I should have made it 1. Let's change it to 1. We don't lose opportunities. We win opportunities here. So let's make it 1. And we'll see that once it's saved, that closed opportunity gets closed and saved to my reports. So now when I go back to my list view here, it will show me that it no longer appears here because I'm only showing open opportunities. We have this filter on the right side of the opportunity list view where you can filter all your opportunities by dates, by status. If you're using different processes and stages, you can filter by, maybe I would filter by my project management process over here. But then you can filter by all of these different areas. So because I'm only showing open opportunities, that closed opportunity is no longer here. In the pipeline view, one thing I haven't shown you yet is at the bottom of the screen is this interactive Kanban board. So what this lets you do is it lets you promote or move opportunities from one stage to the next stage. For example, let's say that I have been working with this summer rumbler opportunity, and I've talked to the customer and they're ready for me to give them a presentation. I can just click and drag this opportunity to the next column and release it, and it'll move it over into that presentation stage for me automatically. So you can interact, you can use this interactive Kanban board to move opportunities from one to the other. You can also sort by different criteria in each of these columns. If you need more room to see more of the opportunities, on the top right, there's a little options panel where you can then use this toggle switch to hide this top stuff, the pipeline and the KPIs. If I just toggle that off, then it hides those items, and I'm working with the Kanban board exclusively. So that's what that is meant to do. Okay, let's go to our final area here, which is going to be, let's see, we're going to talk about next the Act Insight charts. So once you're working with a lot of opportunity records, you're going to want to be able to show your success over time of how well you're doing. And the Act Insight interactive dashboard is a great way to show that. So let's go to Act Insight. And this is going to show me several different views that I have at my disposal. Now, we've talked about Act Insight before on previous webinars, but I always like coming back to this because I'm a big fan. Act Insight will give you out of the box several valuable charts that you don't have to do anything to set up because they're fed directly from the data that you have in Act. For example, this business health chart, it's looking at all of my opportunity records over time, and it's showing me that the opportunities that I have potential versus the opportunities that I have actually won. So these green bars show me my potential opportunities or open opportunities if I'm looking in the future. And then the blue bars show me the opportunities that are closed that we've won. So in the instance where I look at a date in the past, like May, you can see that the green bar is a little bit taller. That means I lost that many opportunities or that amount of opportunities as compared to what I won. So you can see over time that our business has grown, and we can look into the future to see what's on the horizon for me. Revenue versus costs also comes from your opportunity area. And this is derived directly from the cost field and the price field in your products as you add them to your opportunities. So what does it cost me to produce versus how much revenue am I getting when we win these opportunities? And that's a chart that you can use to your benefit later on. We have an opportunity chart down here called average days in stage. This just shows me how long each opportunity by average stays in each stage along my pipeline. And I can set filters by using the filter options button. Like I'm using this year's filter. I can choose, I can switch it to last year if I want to see how we did last year. And this is useful because it helps me to identify, stall points. So I can see that in this commitment to buy, the average age is about 50 days. That's a long time for someone maybe to be in the commitment to buy stage. And I can look at my process to see why are the opportunities staying in that stage so long? What's the holdup between us getting a commitment and then getting payment? Why is it taking that long? So I can then do some analysis later on to sort of resolve that and see if I can fix that. But that's what this average days in stage chart is meant to do. And then last, I have one called competitive advantage. This really pulls information from your opportunity records to show reasons why you may have lost opportunities. So if I look back, I can see over time, I lost opportunities because there was a time constraint involved, or maybe our pricing was, according to the customer, too high. Maybe they didn't enjoy the features. They wanted more features, or maybe their budget wasn't what they wanted it to be. Whatever the reason they gave us when we lost, those will show up here in this competitive advantage chart. And if I click any of the bars in that chart, it will show me all the opportunities for which which contributed to that bar. And I'll show you where you can assign these reasons in the opportunity record. So I'm going to go to the detail view of that specific opportunity. And down at the bottom, there is a tab called Opportunity Info. And on this Opportunity Info tab, there is a field called Reason. And this is where you list the reason, if an opportunity is lost, why it was lost. There's a few things in the drop-down field there. You can obviously you can edit this list value and customize this to whatever you want it to be. I think I added a few like business closed or pandemic or whatever, any other reasons that there might have been for losing opportunities. You can edit this list. And then as you lose opportunities, it's important to list the reason, because you're going to want to go back later on and do some analysis on this to see if you can make improvements on that later on. But that is another chart inside Act Insight that, again, gives you insight into how to be more successful in your business. Now, one thing I want to do is show you, this is just on the basic view. This is called the business health view. On the top right of Insight, there is an options button. If you click that button, it'll open up your options pane, and you can view different views of Act Insight. So I'm looking at, what did I say before? Business health. I meant to call it Key Insights. This is my Key Insights kind of default view, but you can see there are several other views presented to you by default out of the box. One of those is called Sales Metrics. And this really is meant to drill down into specific details about your sales team and your products. This Sales Metrics view shows me the products I've sold over time and the products that are in my current pipeline going forward of open opportunities. So I can really see what products have been doing well and which ones are forecasted to do well, and conversely, which ones are not. That just helps me make decisions business-wise. Do we continue this product? Do we discontinue it? Do we need to promote it better? All those things can come into play when you're looking at a chart like this. Beneath that, I have some charts based on my sales reps, my sales team. I can see the past sales by sales rep, so I can see who has performed well in the past and who hasn't. But I also want to temper this by looking at the forecasted sales. So maybe Tony hasn't done so well yet this year. That's because he's got a lot in his pipeline coming up. So before I come down on Tony too hard, I can see, all right, he's got a lot in his pipeline. Let's see how he does over the next few months. And so these charts built together are meant to give you, two perspectives on the same coin before you make any decisions or have important conversations with people. And again, if you click on any of the bars in this chart, it'll show you the details that make up that bar. And you can toggle back at any time by clicking the little chart view button in the top right. But let's say I have my own chart that I want to create. And that's the last thing I want to show you is I'm going to create a custom chart here. Maybe I want to show a chart for the opportunities that we've lost this year. So I could do that. I could create a new view and place that chart on one of my different views, or I could just throw it on this sales metrics chart at the bottom if I want to. So that's what I'll do. Down at the bottom, I'm going to click this button called Create Advanced Chart. This is kind of an advanced chart. I'm going to show a few different things compiled into one area. So what did I say? This is going to be called Opportunities Lost this year. And so I'm searching for not contact information. I'm searching for opportunity information. And I'm going to base this off of a close date because I'm talking about lost opportunities. So it must have an actual close date associated with it. And I want to count them. I want to know the number of opportunities. And I want to display this in either a bar or a column. Let's just do column. And now, knowing that I'm counting closed opportunities, I have to add some rules to sort of base some criteria on this to fine tune it. I don't want all closed opportunities. For example, I want lost opportunities. So down here in my rules area, I'm going to look for opportunity records. I'm not looking for the close date, but I'm looking for their status because their status is going to be closed. So status should be equal to, and we're going to say lost because I'm interested in lost opportunities. Okay, and then I want to do one more rule because I want it to be for this year only. I don't want to see all opportunities from the beginning of time. I'm going to add another rule. So let's click add another row. And this time I'm going to look for opportunity records that have an actual close date, where the year equals, and then I'll just put in this year, 2024. And that's it. Now, if I click save this chart, Act is going to create this chart for me, and it should put it down at the bottom here. There it is on my screen. And now it's showing me my number of opportunities that I lost this year, and it's giving me the close date at the bottom. So I could probably tweak this a little bit to make it a little bit better based on the information, but now I have a brand new chart. If I click on any of the bars in the chart, it'll show me which of these opportunities were lost. This is just maybe a good summary. As we lose more opportunities, they'll show up on this chart later on. But at the end of the year, I can go back and I have a compiled view of these opportunities, and maybe I can follow up with these customers or make a list of these customers and say, hey, let's check back with them in 6 months to see if they're happy with, or if they want to renegotiate or whatever it might be. At least I have some information here based on opportunities in this year. Maybe I want to break this down even more and get a little more information on it. Like, when do we lose this opportunity? Like, what stages are we losing our opportunities? That might be another good example of a chart to build. So I'm going to put down opportunities lost, let's say by stage. Okay, so once again, I'm searching for opportunity records. And then the field this time is not going to be close date, but we're going to put stage here. And I do want to count it. And let's make this one a bar chart so it looks a little different. I only need one rule for this. And what I'm looking for is opportunities, but I'm looking for their status, again, to be equal to lost. So I'm really focusing on the negative today, I guess. But when I build this chart, what it's going to show me is opportunities that I've lost. Let me close this pane here on the right so I can see it by stage. And this shows me, okay, when I'm losing my opportunities, I'm losing them in the negotiation stage. Now, this is going back over the beginning of time, so it's showing me every opportunity over history, going all the way back to 2017, I think. And it's showing me that when I lose, most of the time it's in that negotiation stage. Okay, well, right away, my mind starts thinking, I need to be better at negotiating, right? So maybe I order some courses for my sales team, how to be a better negotiator, things like that, so that I can get better at doing this, because I want this bar to go down. I don't want to lose in the negotiation stage. I want to be the best in my negotiation stage. But this chart quickly tells me over time, this is the reason why we're losing. It happens in that stage for whatever reason. So there you have it. That's how you can use Act Insight to show you how your company is doing, how your sales team is doing, and when it's not going well, you can see some quick examples of maybe reasons why, just because I built some charts to show me some quick reports on things like that. And that's all we have for this month's webinar. So thank you all for joining us this month. We're going to stay on the line a little bit to catch up on any questions that you may be asking in the Q&A panel. But I hope to see you again next month. Sign up, fill out those surveys. Let me know how we did. Let us know any other topics that you'd like us to expand on, and we'll be happy to see you next month. Have a good one. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.